crazy day. We're going all over the place. I am currently sitting in the parking lot of the Michigan Athletic Campus. Got the baseball field behind me, Schemberger Hall, well back there, the track in front of me. None of that matters. We're going to take your questions right here on the Michigan Mailbag on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground. Very much, well, I'm in my car right now. Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. Thank you to all of our everydayers, those of you who check out the show every day. Thank you for making us your first listen. We do appreciate that as well. We're going to go, as we always do, with the mailbag. We're going to do the Leaders of Best, Victors, Valiant, Blue Crew. That's the plan. So let's get right to it, starting with James Crudup at James Crudup 6. Top 3 concerns you think the team needs to address during the bye. We'll just start with that. Number one, I think it's what we talked about yesterday in the press conference, the drops, right? Because you cannot be in a situation where Bryce Underwood is throwing perfect balls and they're just dropped, right? Like, drives are getting killed. You know, the momentum is dying. Some of these are taking place on third downs. That kind of dovetails into the other thing. Michigan's got to be better on third down. That's the big difference between what we saw in, like, say, 22 and 23 with J.J. McCarthy and what we've seen with Bryce Underwood so far in his freshman year. So they need to get those two things fixed. And then I think the other thing is just finding ways to get the secondary to be, and I think it's been mostly okay, but just getting the secondary to be a little bit more stout, right? Like, they've faced some pretty good offenses early, so obviously you're not going to see this, like, crazy defense at this point, right? Because they faced Oklahoma, they faced Nebraska. Will probably come down as they face some of the teams on the docket, but I mean, Michigan State's offense, although kind of confusing, I can kind of understand what they're trying to do. Washington. But, like, you know, is Purdue going to put up a ton of yards on Michigan? I don't know. He continues, he said, if you had to hit one dance move to draw an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, what are you hitting? I don't really have one there. I'd go to an old school ridiculous one. The worm, jackknife, something like that. That's it. I mean, nothing that's going to draw an unsportsmanlike conduct. I would absolutely do the jackknife, though. That's every time. It would be crazy. Josh Barr at Jadicke. Heard Moore's presser yesterday. He mentioned a few things to clean up on the bye week drops, for example, but what are the things he didn't mention that should be on his list? So it's kind of a continuation of that. So I would add, not necessarily another thing to fix, is just trying to figure out how you can continue to build out the offensive line. And that's where he's going to face some issues, right? Because who knows exactly what this is going to end up being as far as, like, the best offensive line. He's going to have some decisions to make, right? If you have Giovanni El-Hadi coming back, I would assume you put him back in. But, man, like, I really liked what I saw from what they had. Now, granted, Nebraska's defensive front maybe not the greatest. But I liked what I saw from that front five the last 2 straight games, and it's kind of like, do you really want to mess with it? So it's kind of some stuff like that I'd be tinkering with and thinking about. My brother in metal, Michael Wolf at MWolf21. It's said all the time, but could the bye week really come at a better time for this team? I think it's a really good time just by virtue of course, all the injuries. You need to get healthy. You can kind of reassess the things that worked, the things that didn't, all that kind of stuff. Get some of those younger guys, like they call it Opportunity Week. They have 2 of them, now every year. Get some of those younger guys a little bit more acclimated. Get the Shamari Earls of the world who didn't necessarily look very good, especially compared to Jaden Sanders, who looked excellent, I thought, against Nebraska. Get some of those younger guys some more reps so that they're more ready to go. So, yeah, I think it's a pretty dang good time for them to kind of get some of these things rolling. I'll give an acknowledgement to Trent Knoop, who used to be a part of this before he started working with me at Wolverines Wire. He is now the managing editor over at at Wolverine Digest. He says, does Michigan have any chance of winning this weekend? Hardy har har, man. Hardy har har. Nice work. Let's see. We got Spencer Whitmore, I think, is our last one because we're doing it in a different way here since I'm in the car. Just kind of looking at where people would normally go. So Spencer Whitmore finishing us out in segment 1. Rolls Royce or Ferrari? I'm guessing you're asking that question because Biff talking about Ferraris. He has a Rolls Royce. The Saban stuff, right? Like I'm guessing it comes from the Biff Poggi Saban stuff. That's hard, man. His Rolls Royce is one of the coolest cars I've ever seen. It's a Rolls Royce SUV. It doesn't get cooler than that. I'd still take the Ferrari. Like, I used to be all about luxury. Now I think I am much more likely to go in the realm of having a very powerful sports car. Maybe that's just because that's all I watch is Top Gear and Grand Tour. The channel's on Prime. It's literally it's playing at home right now, assuming it didn't do the Are You Still Watching? So Zuri's just taking it all in right now. But I'd have to go Ferrari. If I had, and I'd go Lamborghini over Ferrari personally. And I might go a decked out Range Rover overall, to be honest. But I don't know what my dream car is right now that we say that. I don't really like Bugattis, even though we keep on comparing Bryce Underwood to a Bugatti Chiron. I think Lamborghini would be the way to go. Lamborghini and then Ferrari. I know what it would be. I'd probably drive an Aston Martin, or a McLaren. That's what I would go with. All right, we got so many more to get to. We are going to get to those here in just a moment. But before we do, and I can't seem to figure out where I'm going here. There we go. This episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's local sports bars packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Listen, Blank Slate here in Ann Arbor comes alive every Saturday during football season. Everyone's in team colors. The energy is incredible. It feels like everyone down there off the Main Street area is just there cheering together. No, it's not a sports bar, but pregame, postgame, go get some really good ice cream. I kind of want to do that right now if I hadn't already had ice cream today. It's the kind of place that when you walk in, everyone knows your name. The staff are like family. They've been serving Ann Arbor for quite some time here. And spending money there doesn't just support the business, it supports the people behind it and the community around it. The local spots like this are what make Ann Arbor feel like home, and so many of them run on Square. Square is a proud member of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnCollege to learn more, but before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. All right, we're going to continue on here in just a moment. We got to wait for the internet to work here. There we go. College football is back. I could not be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, and the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time. The app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. The app makes it super simple. You can see the exact seat view before you buy. I love the zone deals, too. You pick the section. Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. You know what I wish that the Twitter app didn't do? Just every time you back out of it, it's like, I don't think you wanted to stay on the thing that you were on before you switched. Thankfully, managed to make this work okay. All right, let's continue on with the Victors Valiant. So many more here. Let's go David G. Van Reenen at XNihilo7. Do you know how long we've had a game manager did not look like he was on the job Saturday before halftime? I don't know. That was the first time I heard about it the other day, to be honest. Coach Dave at Big Coup 82. Is the coaching staff ever going to learn how to manage a game, or do we just have more talent than every team than we play? Listen, bad things happen. Just to continue that train of thought. I don't really like. Yeah, was it a debacle? It could have been. It didn't end up being so. I thought you had the bad, but you also have to take the good that came with it, right? Like there was good that came. Like the way that they orchestrated that last drive, in terms of just like, hey, we're outside of maybe the first set of downs, we're just going to keep it on the ground. I think like that's the good end of the game management, right? Advising Jordan Marshall, hey, you got to get down, like get the first down, but as soon as you do, like get a knee down. Like that's the type of stuff that like they did a really good job with. Ultimately, like, yeah, you can learn from some of those things. You have to understand that Sharon wasn't there. Not that Sharon's done a great job with that stuff. But, I mean, even so, like, you know, they were shorthanded. And I think that, yeah, they need to be smarter sometimes. But at the same time, they did some really smart things at the same time. So, like, if you're going to acknowledge the bad, acknowledge the good as well. Jared Book at Book's World. Repeated my question earlier in the week. Why has there been a lack of Fred Moore playing time? Goodwin's dropped a lot of passes that I feel like Moore would have made. Thanks, Isaiah. I don't know why. Why are we not seeing more Fred Moore? Kendrick Bell? Like, they're sticking with, let's add in Anthony Simpson. People who I have been assured are, like, ready, raring to go, pretty good in practice. Not playing them for whatever reason. It's heck, I'd play a heck of a lot more Andrew Marsh and even Jamar Browder. I don't know if it's because the blocking element isn't there for those guys. Maybe that's it, right? Because I feel like we've seen good blocking from the guys that we have seen out there. Some of them were really pivotal on some of those runs. But man, like they gotta be able to catch the ball. It's not your only job, but it's blocking is a big part of it on run plays. But I mean, I would love to see some more of those guys out there. I'm not really sure why we're not at this point. I'm not the one at William Cawthorne 9. Do you feel like the schedule is more daunting than we assumed? Washington will probably be ranked soon. Maryland and Michigan State look good, and USC. What say you? I mean, absolutely. I mean, like that's the whole kind of my premise every offseason. Like you look at the schedule and you assume what those teams are going to be, and you don't know. And here's the thing: even at week 4, we don't know. You think about all those years, like Maryland, for instance. Now, Maryland so far looks good. But there have been other years where it's been like, yeah, Maryland looks really good. Shout out to my friend Allie Gearing over at SiriusXM Channel 84. But like we've had those conversations when Maryland like starts out 4-0, they upset Texas in the Charlie Strong era, and then you get down the road and they end up like struggling to make a bowl game, right? Like it's really difficult to say. Like, yeah, Michigan State has looked pretty good so far, but like who have they played? Yeah, they played Boston College. Is Boston College all that? I mean, they lost to Stanford. So you don't really know anything, right? Like everyone, slurping Ohio State after beating Texas. I mean, that tracks when you think about Texas being the number 1 team in the preseason, but is Texas not very good? You don't know, right? Like we could end up finishing the season looking at it and saying Oklahoma was one of the best teams in the country, right? If Oklahoma goes out and waxes Texas, then what does that say about Michigan versus Oklahoma versus Ohio State versus Texas? I'm not using this to slam Ohio State. What I'm trying to say is you just kind of never know what teams are until you get like halfway through the season. We're almost there, but once you get about that 6 data points, then you start to kind of get an idea. When you're getting to conference play, then you start to get a real idea. I'm sure you have more because we're scrolling here. Okay, continuing. Do you feel like this team's discipline and miscues have taken a hit since the Harbaugh regime ended? Yes and no. There have been times where I feel like they were undisciplined in the Harbaugh era. There were definitely times where I felt like that was, yeah, there were a lot of times where you would look at it and say, like, man, some years are like Michigan just doesn't get penalized. They don't make mistakes. And there are some years where it's like, man, costly mistakes. Like they just get, they cut back on the penalties. What, 22 or 23? It was like Michigan needs to cut down on the penalties and all that kind of stuff. So yes and no. I think there's some elements that need to be fixed, but, again, that kind of comes with time. I think that, keeping things in check, that's part of it. He continues, can we start a 1 more year fund or bring back fund for Jay Harbaugh? I don't think he's coming back, brother. And you know what? Like, I get it if you're looking at the special teams of it all. I mean, I think JB Brown has done a little bit better this year than he has did last year. Still some issues, but I think so far it's kind of a mixed bag. I'm not as down on special teams. I know there's been some issues. Some of them are, I think, more Samaj needs to be louder and communicate. I don't have as much of a problem with Samaj on special teams as others do. Personally, I do think he needs to catch the ball more rather than let it go. But it's better than. I'd like to see more returns too. I'm not saying it's good. Don't get me wrong. Don't mistake this for me being like, oh, I think it's great. It's not. It does need to be better. But number one, he's also not coming back. All right, moving on. Let's see where we leave off here. K-Lob 711. Based on Michigan's first 4 games so far, how do you see it going against Wisconsin and USC? Close games or Michigan asserting their strengths and winning handily? God bless. God bless you as well. Wisconsin, I think, will be a massive blowout. And I would say that USC, that's hard to tell. USC's really only played Michigan State. I don't know how good Michigan State is. It's a road game. Michigan has tended to not play well when it's had to go all the way to the West Coast. There's no bye week before or after. Secondary seems to be the problem for Michigan. And I haven't looked that deeply into USC. The only time I've seen USC was like a couple quarters against Michigan State. So second and third quarter, really. And I wasn't even paying that close attention to it, to be honest. So, hard to tell. I mean, it would be a debacle if they don't just destroy Wisconsin with what Wisconsin is right now. Edwin Simmons at Simmons_Edwin. Happy Tuesday, my brother in Christ. Again, another win at Nebraska. Why do the national media pick us over, pick others over us? Example, Joel Klatt. Joel Klatt picked Michigan to win, like, pretty handily. He's dead Michigan winning by a much wider margin than what they ended up doing. Josh Pate, I mean, he apologized for that. JD Piquel, I didn't see JD's, shaking my head. Where are the receivers? O'Leary, Bell, etc. I mean, I don't. O'Leary, no offense to Peyton O'Leary, there's some guys I want to see above him based off of things I've heard. We have too many drops that need a chance. I was seeing Coach Moore back. I mean, seeing Coach Moore back was, felt like he never left in some ways. As far as like the media stuff, like, just don't worry what the national media says. Like, who cares? Like, that it's funny to me because you see like that's kind of like, and I understand every fan base is this. Like, I was listening to Sirius XM coming home from Nebraska, and like some dude called in just flipping out over like not getting enough love for Tennessee and saying like Tennessee would beat anyone in the country. And like they weren't necessarily saying bad things about Tennessee, but they weren't like waxing ecstatic about them either. So with that, it's just like, who cares what like the national people try, like they are trying to pay attention to essentially 136 teams right now, right? And that's impossible to do. And you're trying to basically come out with an idea of what every team is, at least every team in the Power 5, or Power 4 rather. It's a hard job. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, but as long as you keep winning. And then you think about like Ohio State fans, like they demand, like everyone calls them dominant at this point. So who cares? Just it doesn't really matter. And ultimately, just win your games. That's the most important thing. Let's see. Yoder77, love the podcast, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. What does a realistic season now look like for Michigan? I think 10-2 and advance to second round of playoffs is attainable. What say you? I mean, that's kind of always been my thing. They haven't looked as sharp as I thought that they might. In particular, like Bryce has looked sharp. Offensive line's maybe been a little bit behind, except for the last 2 weeks it's looked really good. Defense has looked about what I expected. Wide receiver group has kind of been what I feared. So, I'm still sticking at either 9-3, 10-2, but it could go either way. They could run the table. They could. I was talking to Danny Cannell, and he told me, like, we're going to try to have him on soon again. And, like, he was like, if Bryce keeps playing the way that really he's capable of, and they fix a couple of these little things, I mean, this could be a real good playoff team. So, yeah. Let's see. Clark at Blue for Life 8. Any word on how Babalola's recovering is going? No, haven't heard, but I mean, he's out for the year, so it's not something that we'll check in on for a long time here. Lonnie Dub asks, when will Biff Pochi be on the show? I'd love for that to happen. I would love for it to be a car ride too, for obvious reasons, but they're probably not going to let me interview Biff Poggi anytime soon, but he I think he would if asked about it. So I do know Biff, so there's that. Let's see. Continuing on, Great Babino X at Colossus or Cloud X. Offensive line had their best performance with the reserve guards in. Now we have a bye and maybe back to full health coming out of it. Who are the best five? Do you think it can be a championship caliber unit this year? I don't think it's going to be championship caliber, but I think it's definitely better than last year at this stage. So that's good. At this point, I'd roll with what you got. And I don't know if El Hadi or Afobe is better in that spot. You've had your best line with the five that you have. I'd roll with that as long as you can, honestly. Let's see. Jacob Shavaria, over under 10 sacks for Barham in 2025. Over. Can he return next year? I don't know. I don't think so. I think this is his last year. I'm going to go actually over for Barham. What does he have right now? 3? Hard to say over. I'm going to go over, though. Man is just a beast. Is it just me or does Matt Rule remind you of Lord Farquaad from Shrek? Never heard that before, but I like it. Perry Mitchell at Perry Mitchell 08. Does Wink trust his depth too much, or is he trying to get guys snaps? Seeing 3 freshman DBs on the field at the same time for an entire drive was an interesting choice. I think that wasn't necessarily just full depth, right? Like, if they had some more guys that were older that were available, Zeke Berry's injured. We haven't seen Josiah Edmond. And then whatever it was with Jair Hill, I think that was a necessity for a minute. So I think it's more he kind of has to. Mike Matthews at Michigan Mike 7. With everyone healthy, who would be your starting 5 offensive linemen after watching the first 4 games? I guess I just answered that here a moment ago. And Nunya Biz at U of M fan for life. Who's fired first, Luke Fickell or Dabo Swinney? I'm going to go with Luke Fickell. We got one more in this segment, and we'll go with the Rican Raider at Hamstand 87. Morning, Isaiah. Hope you're well. You think we'll see a shakeup in wide receivers moving forward? I don't know if I trust them to do that. It's funny, the opposite problem from the defense. If the upperclassmen have butterfingers, put the underclassmen in. Normally pretty calm, but these drops would have me making them on the jug machine. The thing is like there's just a disconnect between practice and games, from what I've heard. But yeah, like if you start getting, because this was part of the problem in 2019. You know, we're always hearing like, oh man, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Streak Black, they're catching everything thrown their way, and then you get to some of the big games and they've got butterfingers. I'm not. I mean, they would acknowledge that all the same. I say that as 2 guys I know and like and talked to within the last month. But it's I think that there needs to be an accountability there, and part of it is going to be like those guys being like, I need to figure out what I'm doing here so that I don't drop any more passes. All right, we've got a heck of a lot more in the Blue Crew. We're going to get to those here in just a moment. But before we do, give me a second. It takes a little longer not sitting at my computer. Here we go. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can even make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, it didn't pull me out of my stuff here. If you're wondering, why are we sitting in the car and not in the studio? Well, I had family in town. I had to take them to the airport between my typical Tuesday church meetings, then that, and then we got press conference. Then we've got hopefully revival scenario led by Justice Haynes, Marlon Klein, Zach Marshall, and one other guy, can't remember, here on campus. So we're going to go cover that as well. So really just did not have the time to sit down as I normally would, because it was spent going to the airport and all of that. And hopefully we can get at least the audio up on this early, but it's almost 6 p.m. I don't know. We're already overtime, or not over, but close to. So let's just continue on here. See where we left off. Cliff Washburn at Double Neves. Hey, brother, is it greater pro or greater con reeling in Brandon Hillman's aggressiveness? I'd say con. Like, yeah, it cost you, and could have cost you dearly. And, you know, getting off the field there, Michigan probably is able to, put the game away a little bit earlier. But I think you also want him to have that aggressive mindset. As Sharon said, like, he feels terrible about it himself. So there's that. I'm just going to go at Reed_Hansen because I don't know how to say that. Read-a-dial. What is the plan at wide receiver for next season? I mean, they're probably transfer portal. Some of the wide receivers on the roster will get better, yes, but doesn't it feel like the team needs more size and athleticism? Yes. Plus, I think you're going to expect that Andrew Marsh, Jamar Browder, Jacob Washington will be ready to go. I think that you know, guys like Travis Johnson, Tyon Robinson will be ready to go a little bit more. Stuff like that. Stogie Serialite Christo with a long number. Will the portal open up during the season? No, it opens up. He continues. Can we get a bona fide wide receiver? It's going to be in January. It's going to be a 10-day period in January. That's what it is. Nick at Nick Austin 13. When are you going to have on the Real Star of Michigan podcast Noah as a guest? Steve's clearly been surpassed. We got to do that soon, actually, probably. Noah's been excellent. Yeah, I told him that when I stayed over at Steve's house coming back from Nebraska. So, Noah, if you're watching or listening, I'm going to affirm that publicly. You have been absolutely wonderful thus far. I haven't watched the Nebraska reaction yet, obviously, because I was driving to your house. JP at JP2, the boys, should Sanders and Earl start at cornerback? I would say Sanders and Dotson at this point. Like, did you see Earls in the game against Nebraska? Did it look good? It did not. He's still going to, I mean, like, he's got some time, you know, so a little ways to go. That said, early in 2022, Will Johnson didn't look that good. I mean, it didn't look terrible. I'm not saying Earls look terrible, but right now, Jaden Sanders and Elijah Dotson are clearly ahead of him. I think Zeke Berry should be back soon. And I think if you can keep with a rotation of Sanders, Berry, and why am I for Jair Hill? I think that's the option. Jake STH Betts, Rod Moore starting moving forward. Kind of, I mean, he played, I think, like somewhere in the teens as far as snaps goes. Maybe work his way back. I think it's maybe not yet. Maybe by USC is what I would say. It took him. He came back against Rutgers in 2023 after sitting out the first 3 games in a reserve role. Played a little bit more against Nebraska in Week 5, and then I think he was starting against Minnesota. So I would say probably. I think there was a bye in there as well. I would look at it kind of the same type of deal. Jordan Hickey asked, can we talk about Brandon Hillman and hurting his team? I mean, it was 2 plays, and it's unfortunate, but, like, you move on, right? Ethan McClellan, do you believe anything will change specifically on offense now that Sharon Moore is coming back? No, I think it'll look pretty much what it's looked like at this point. Mark Zimmerman, hope you're well, my brother in Christ. Where do you think we stack up against the top teams in the Big Ten and nationally? How much do you believe this changes by season's end by getting better? Right now, I would expect Michigan to lose to probably the top, what I would consider the top 5 teams. Even though I don't think there's anything, I'm not really sold on Ohio State. Again, not trying to be a hater to J Book, and you know, this is at the 28-minute mark. If you want to clip this, you know, I'm not sold on them as much as I'm sold on Oregon. I'm not sold on Penn State really either. I think I am sold on Indiana. I think I would have them losing to them. We'll see it. Like USC and Washington will be interesting. But by year's end, I think it could be a completely different story, right? Like Michigan in the last couple of years has been a team that's gotten better as the years gone along. I think that will continue to be the case here. Brett Byer 6. Of all the players that were rested or out for injuries against Nebraska, who's likely to be ready to go after the bye week by the time Wisconsin comes? Dude, it's impossible to tell because some of those guys were good to go after Central and were out the next week. I couldn't tell you. Wolverine Warrior, Wolverine Champ 1. What can be done for the lack of penalties called, especially with our players being held? Are there any combos happening in the wide receiver room and coaching? OL has stepped up, but wide receivers are still a pain point. I mean, we've talked about most of that. As far as the lack of penalties, Sharon said, like, they're letting us play. They're not calling it on one side, and you know, it's not one-sided, so we'd like to see him call it, but whatever. All right, we're going to do 3 more. Ramas Eric. I know I was saying your name right before, but I feel like I'm suddenly not. Isaiah, help me out here. What does it mean that we'll teach our wide receivers this week how to catch the ball? They catch it in high school. They shouldn't be here if they don't. It means that they're using improper technique. That's it, right? Like, it's like, I remember I was more of a baseball player, right? And I remember, like, when I would go out and play catch with my buddy who played third string at Ohio University, he was throwing me the ball and I couldn't catch anything. I used to be like, I was sure-handed when it came to baseball, but football it wasn't. And then he taught me, like, you just gotta, like, you gotta do the W, right? Like, or not the W, you gotta put your hands together like that. It's like they're just not using the right technique, or like Sharon was saying, like, gotta put your pinkies together. Like, they're just not using the right technique, so they just are gonna be drilling technique. I asked last time if Jay Sean was the missing piece or spark for the defensive line to live up to pre-season hype. Just say yes, okay? Yeah, sure. DJ Spicer 7, will Jimmy Roller stay at Michigan next year and use his last year of eligibility? I think it's possible. I think it's absolutely possible. Who knows? All right, one more. Let's see which we want to use here. All right, let's go Till Daddy at Jacob Tillio 0. Is Justice Haynes the Doak Walker Award frontrunner? And if so, does he get an invite to NYC? I think it's probably, he's probably running near the top. That running back, is it from Missouri, has been incredible as well. It'd probably be one of the two of them. Like, he's got, I think, just a little bit better in terms of, like, what he's been doing. Maybe a little bit more consistent in terms of the runs. But I think he's right up there. I think you continue along the season. I mean, it's best start for a Michigan running back ever. So, I mean, that kind of tells you what it is. So, yeah, I think it's possible. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. We will talk to you again. We will have Jack Tuttle on the show tomorrow. Probably should reach out to Jack and figure that out. That's a problem for future Isaiah. Talk to you again soon. Peace.